You're gonna have the time of your life. Come book your getaway. Fly away, feel the breeze on your skin. The sunshine so relaxing. Come on and book your trip right now with Tiff. Caribbean Resort, relax and have a sip. Make your reservation today, sending joy and laughter.
Hello, everybody. My name is Tiffany. For you all who are new to the channel, I wanted to shout out and say thank you for being a part of Trip with Tiff. And it's so amazing because as I evolve and the brand is evolving, I'm realizing that it's evolving and changing in such a way that is so past just talking about trips and Caribbeans and cruises, which, I'm still the connection. But it's so much more. And as I've evolved and as I'm evolving, I've come to realize that there's some changes that are happening, some shakeups in my life that I needed to shake up in this transition and transitioning that I'm having, not just in my business life, but in my personal. And so I'm wanting to now get into, and what I've always done is to incorporate life changes and adjustability and how those adjustments are necessary. And speaking with women who are making profound changes. And so for me, this is an honor to have someone who I adore. And it's just amazing. So I can't wait to invite you all for this experience. 30 minutes, I promise it will be short because I want to be respectful of her time because she's so powerful in all that she does. So without further ado, let me introduce to you purposely Zenny, and I like to call her Zan. So let me introduce her. Add her on. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being a part, Zenny. Oh my gosh. We want to talk about how did you come into being who you are? I know that's a big question because
Yeah.
they see you on social media, they see you doing the meaningful work.
Mhm.
But what was it before? What was it before in the transition?
So I'll start off by saying that all work is meaningful, right?
Yes.
Because we're all contributing to the collective evolvement in different ways. So every single person's work is meaningful.
Yes, it is.
But what was it before this? I suppose I was still doing meaningful work. So before this,
Yes.
I was a pole dance instructor I've been pole dancing for 8 years. And so I was instructing for about 5 or 6.
Okay.
But even inside of that, it was still instead of now helping people change their minds and raise consciousness in this way, it was assisting women with being more comfortable in being in their skin, helping them learn how to move in a mindful way, helping them shift their mindsets around their relationship with their body, and helping them understand that it would still change their mind, right? But
It
helping them
would.
understand that the moment that they changed their mind about what they thought their body could do, their body would respond. And tapping into sensuality, being just more comfortable, being more comfortable being in their body. So it went from working primarily with the body to now working primarily with the mind, but also working with the body in an energetic way now.
Okay, so I had my first experience with you a couple of
Mm-hmm.
weeks back, and it was so amazing because in the transition and wanting to understand because I was raised up in the church,
Mm-hmm.
how you do the things. And I always knew that even with my grandmother, she was very pivotal in making certain that I knew that God was so big and
Mm-hmm.
that opportunity and that he moved in such a way that it's going to reach past the four walls in the church. It was going to
Mm-hmm.
reach past, he can go and do way more, right? And so in finding and realizing that and feeling comfortable and saying like, I don't have to be in the church in order to be able to make the difference and to feel his presence and to know that, right? That he can work in other ways.
Mm-hmm.
And going to your event was so powerful and meaningful just because I was in that wheelchair.
Yeah.
um, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to
Yeah.
do it, scared, afraid, or whatever. I felt safe with you. It's
Mm-hmm.
because there's a piece that you give. And you spoke a word of to me, and it was amazing because in that word, I'm sure you have a lot of people that you in the time that you're doing, but that in that moment, you spoke a word that was a confirmation of someone who I've reverenced and we connect with.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you personally for that. But how is it now where you see yourself and where you're moving?
Um, how is it now where I see myself and where I'm moving in regards to
Um, you, you,
hmm. Hmm. You
you.
know, so I've been going through major transitions as well. And what was really interesting was earlier today, I was filling out a press piece, I guess we can call it that, for a an online magazine, and they were asking me about my journey. And as I just looked through my journey, I saw how much this was in my face for a couple of years, but I was looking everywhere but at this. It was like I was seeing what I was supposed to be doing. The higher power source,
Hello.
God, was
Right.
literally removing everything from my experience so that I could focus and hone in on this. But in the telling of that story, I saw how much I was resisting what I was supposed to be doing.
Wow.
And so, even in that, I told about how with my then brand strategist, I told her we don't talk about trauma. I don't do trauma. We're not talking about that.
Hmm.
And it was the thing that I ran from the most, which was what I was supposed to be focusing on. And
Wow.
so as far as where I know I'm going now
Mm.
is deeper into assisting people with uprooting their trauma, childhood trauma, intergenerational trauma, again, which is very interesting to me because I was like, I don't want no parts in that. I don't want to do that at all. Um, and honestly, I didn't even want to be a healer, which was interesting. I was fine being a pole dancer. That was fun. This is fun, but
There's
I
a
was I
whole,
was
yeah,
cool with
like
that.
there's a, it honestly leads into something else, right? Because your moves.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So,
I'm learning that because with hips, I hold a lot of stuff in my hips from
mm-hmm,
trauma, right? And I'm in this wheelchair. So now you're like, okay, how many
yeah,
people can relate to that though? Being in a space. I know for me, I was just talking to one of my friends, and she is also a healer as well. I choose her, and she talks with women
mm-hmm,
who have encountered trans situations and trans trauma like that. Um, and it was funny because we were, like you said, you were going through your journey, right? How many people
mm-hmm.
can really go back and look back and reflect and say, this came to serve me. All these things
Yeah,
came to serve me.
it did.
Me being in this wheelchair for no apparent, like I used to be like, I could not, what is this about? But then I
Mm-hmm,
remember the person, my grandmother, who I love and I adored, who was paralyzed, who lived her life in this wheelchair. He had to sit
mm,
down for a reason. And so my
mm,
purpose is being found just by being in this chair.
mm,
And that's something strong that I had never looked at. And it wasn't
mm-hmm.
revealed to me until we had that session. And so I love that.
Yeah, yeah. I wrote about that as well. How because in the interview they asked, how does a person find their purpose?
Whew.
And that's such a huge question. Like, there's such a question that is very often asked. And I said, well, I didn't find my purpose. My purpose chased me
Exactly.
around. It chased me until I was like, you know what? Fine.
I get it. I get
Right.
it, right?
Like, okay, sure, we'll do it. I hear you. We'll do it. And so, the purpose is always there, but the purpose, same for you as the purpose being you in the wheelchair. The purpose is in your life experiences. It's right there.
It was it was amazing because it was like, okay, you did all these things and you don't see you don't see, for me, let's just break it down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I was a flight attendant. Had never been on a plane before in my life, but I want to be a flight attendant. Did that, conquered that, cool, got it. Then I
Mm-hmm.
went to banking and finance, loved that, did that, cool. Diagnosed with MS. Okay, a challenge, a bump. Okay, it was fine until it started to progress.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had me now 2 years going into solely depending on this wheelchair, right? But in that midst of all that, I realized that my grandmother was through there and guiding. And then I had my friend Anacha, who was also guiding and keeping me in alignment, because I was like, I don't understand what this is about.
Mm-hmm.
So some people are going to be out here who are going to say, well, I don't get what you're doing. I don't understand
Mm-hmm.
what this is about. And it's
Mm-hmm.
really not, it's not for me to know it all, right? It's not
Yes,
for us to say, I got the key and this is it. It's just living in that journey.
absolutely. It is. It is that.
Come on, break it down. Come on, Zenny.
uh I just really just be wanting to stay in my lane. But
Go ahead.
this is my lane.
This is your lane.
So it is that. It is it is a matter of flowing with what's happening, right? Accepting life as it comes. That's the spice of life. The unknown is the spice of life, even though that is what people are most afraid of.
Right.
But what I will also say, just based off of my own journey, based off of the person that I am, the things that I've encountered, and one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about what I do is that any circumstance can be overcome if we
Mm,
desire for it to be.
mm.
And so I say that as to say, because it's burning out of my stomach and I just can't. Yeah, that's what I want to stay in my lane, but it's coming up.
No, this is you. And I want,
If ever you decided that you didn't want to be in that chair anymore and that being in the chair no longer served you, you could be out of that chair.
yes, I definitely believe that. Amen. I
Mm-hmm.
believe I believe in that. And I've had other people said to me as well, you you know that you can get up out this chair and you can do your thing. And I've been doing this
Mm-hmm.
12 weeks of physical therapy, OT, and all those things, right? And
Mm-hmm.
in this moment, he needs to get my he I need to be in here for a moment.
Yes.
I need to
Yes.
be here. And it was like when I broke my ankle when I fell. My husband could not understand when I got on the ground. His thing was like he's supposed, scoop me up, let's go to the ER, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that breaking of the ankle and that pain, I wanted to feel that.
Mm-hmm.
I needed to feel that lowest point.
Mm-hmm.
And he couldn't understand what I'm like, leave me here. And it was hard.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I tell people the journey is going to be, it's not going to be rainbows and butterflies. You're going to have to
Mm-hmm.
pull out some things. It's going to have to hurt. But on the other side of that, there's something. And for me
Absolutely.
on that, it helped me. But
Mm-hmm.
it sounds weird when I say that. People are like, what? That
No,
helped.
it if nobody in the world feel you, I feel you. It makes absolute sense. And so often people don't surrender to those moments. People
Mm,
don't surrender to the, not to sound cliche, but the purpose in the pain,
that's it.
because there is,
There.
and it's a matter of surrendering to what's happening, living out the journey so that you receive what you're supposed to receive while you're in it. But um, in the same token, understanding that at the moment where I feel that I've received what I'd like to receive, and higher power, please help me in understanding. Cue me on now. When is it time for me to rise up? When is it
Mm,
time for me to shift out
mm.
of this? And I'll say, for me, in just certain things I've had to healing the unhealable within myself, it was a personal choice. But for me, the healing came when I decided that I would no longer look back.
Ooh.
Healing
Ooh.
only happens in the present. It can only happen in the present. And
Mm,
so, whenever, as long as I felt like I needed to be in that space in order to learn, then that's where I would be. But
Mhm.
I did need to be in that space in order to learn, because I hadn't learned not to be in that space in order to learn, if
Right,
that makes sense.
right, right,
So, so surrendering to being there, but, people understanding that every circumstance can be temporary if you allow it to be. Things can flow forward if you allow it to, but still asking to receive what you're supposed to receive when you're feeling low.
right, right. Wow. So, at what point did you say, I'm going to, because I, I'm in, you've been in the social media world, you've been in this world for a minute. Um, how did you feel the energy? Because I know I went in, I had to take a step back from social media for a minute because I
Mm-hmm.
felt a pulling. And I honestly, I never really looked at the analytics. Some of my stuff was doing really, really well for a minute. And I'm like,
Mm,
oh, but it was, and I'm like, okay, that's good. But I didn't realize why it was such a pull.
mm-hmm.
Because then it was like, okay, you're in a wheelchair. I need a wheelchair. I need, and it was like, oh, whoa, hold up. I'm not saying that I'm the supplier of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't have a hookup for a van that someone's needing. You know what I mean? Like a
Yeah.
accessible van. I don't have that, right? I don't want to be setting up a Cash App or GoFundMe for someone to help them in that way.
Mm-hmm.
There's other resources that we can find and do that, but that's not my ministry.
Yeah.
Um, you know, that's not it. Even with being an ambassador for the MS Society. So how is it that when you're in that space, I'm asking you for those who are out here who are transitioning and wanting to go into that space, what is it that it took for you to say, you know what, this is my part, this is my lane.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, you could feel it in your shanana,
Yeah.
your fire. You say there's a fire. How do you feel that? And what
Yeah.
do you do? How
So
do you transition?
So one thing I will say, I'm so grateful for the the simulation, the simulation and the circus that is social media.
Whew.
Something that, yeah, it's such a circus. It's real funny though. But
Yeah.
something that I came to realize was that there would always be someone to show up in a comment in a DM or something that would trigger exactly what I needed to be, how I needed to be triggered.
Yes.
They would just press the right buttons in
Yes.
order for me to really see myself. And
Yes.
so I
Yes.
had to I had to lean into that. Like it took me a minute to lean into it,
Right.
into you actually, even though this person is being a total ASS, you actually need to address why this makes you feel a type of way. Um and then on the opposite end of the spectrum, I had to, and this is something I needed for real life as well, I had to understand that I can't be everything to everyone and that I don't want to be. And
That's
so, when people will ask me questions about XYZ, like people will ask, how can I buy a scarf? How can I buy earrings? I'm like, I don't sell scarves and earrings. Just as simple as that. I'm not here
right.
to talk to you about scarves and earrings. And if you've ever, like, I think I see your name pop up on my lives often. People will ask me about relationships often, and I've gotten to the point where I'm like,
I
I'm
get
not talking about relationships because I'm not here to do that.
it.
That's
Right.
not what I've been in. Of course, there's healing in that. I can lend
Right.
some things, but I'm not called to talk to you about why you're not over your ex.
Mm. Okay.
There are people on this internet who are called to do that. I'm called to talk about soul healing on a different
Mm.
level. And so
Mm.
I had to get to a point where I really stood on, I'm not here to be everything for everyone. And it was also my ancestors with that, because they tell me what questions to answer based off of where we want to go and what
Mm.
people need. And it
Mm.
really turned into, we don't need to talk about twin flames. Like, that's not helpful for us.
Oh,
We
I
don't
got
need to,
soul. Yeah, like who's my soulmate? What like
yeah,
that's
like,
not thing either. I get it.
there are some people who might talk about that, but for we're doing, can we talk about how do I become in touch with my intuition? How
Yes.
do I do my shadow work? How do I learn to release? How do I meditate? Like that type of stuff,
Right.
sure.
Right.
So really just having to be like, you know what? I'm drawing a line, and I'll let y'all know I'm drawing the line here.
Right. Right. And I think that that's important. So for those of us who know, because the experience, I have to tell you, I don't know if you saw me because there were several of us in the room. I had never been in such I love the essence that you created for the space prior to us going in. It was amazing. My husband was there. He was outside and he was like, I didn't know I could have came. I'm like, no, it was my moment. No.
He definitely could have came.
Yeah, like he didn't know and I didn't know. I didn't want to, But one of the things that I realized was while I was in there was how powerful that room and how you were able to do what you do. And I have to admit, I was in there wide eyed. I don't know if you saw me, but I was wide eyed. I wanted to see it all. Like you saw.
I did. I'm like, she is observing right now. I love it though.
Yeah, I was completely like this. I was observing. And then I had a moment where I was like, you know what? Be in the moment. And that's when I was able to capture. And you came around and I loved and you spoke a word to me. And the word was that I'm already there, that it's coming. And that was like, okay, because in life, we feel like I'm doing all the things. I'm showing up. I'm doing this, but it's not equating in my bank account. When in essence,
yes.
My husband's like, I see you making these investments, baby. I see you. I see you taking the courses. I see you doing this and I see you do this, but it's not equating. And one of the things I had to tell him, and for those who are around me, I never skip in that area. There's never a loss in that area. He always provides, and ancestors provide and they guide. And so in that moment, I'm never without. It feels like on the outside for other people who are watching, like, what the heck are you doing? So what is some advice would you give to those who are in that phase, entrepreneurs, people just in general? Because this is not a la land. This is not a that.
Yeah.
This journey is real.
It is.
It's real.
It really is. So interesting that you asked that question, because that is exactly where I've been. And now I'm like, how do I even want to answer that question? Yes. From what lens? So one, I'll say that I am also someone who invests first in myself. I invest in my learning. I invest in my growth. Because I mean, what else would I invest on? So I buy clothes last. I buy shoes last. I just cleaned out my closet. I threw away my bed. I think I've got like 3 pair of pants right now, a couple socks and things of that nature. But that was because I was hearing, get rid of all of these things because you better get ready for the things that are coming. So in the investing in myself, though, I found that I have never not received the return on my investment in some way, shape, or form. And so I had to open my eyes to how my investments were being returned to me. And so I would look at something so simple as, if I went ahead and spent that $50 on a couple of books, and I knew in my heart I would get that $50 back literally the same day. Somebody will book something that costs $200 and bam, I've got my money back immediately. Immediately. Yes. But because I don't look at it as spending, I look at it as investing. So,
and I always say circulate, because it really comes back.
Yes, because it's currency.
It's currency, right?
It's currency. Yeah, when we think about the way that we talk about money, we talk about money in water terms. Water is flow. Water is fluid. And so even in the way that we speak about it, money is also feminine. Yes. It has a feminine energy. And so in order for money to trust you with it, you've got to create a container for the money to exist. You've got to create trust between you and the money. And so when I started to do those type of things, when I really started to understand that money was relational, and so instead of asking, okay, I'm investing, Where's the return on my investment?
Right.
It was operating with money the way that I would operate with a woman, I suppose you could say, or the way that like I would
Yes.
operate with feminine energy, with grace, with
Yes.
trust,
Yes.
with surrender, with
Yes.
flow,
Yes.
with responsibility. I like to be held responsibly,
Yes.
with care. I
Yes.
like to be I like to be handled carefully, full of care.
Mhm.
And with that, having a sense of care in how I utilize my resources
Yes.
and how I invest in myself. And something that I also did was create a money credo. So I talked to money and told money how I would care for it and
Okay.
how I would create a container for it. And so once I did those things, um, along with prioritizing myself, prioritizing investing in myself, um, and then really watching the language that I used, you can feel the flow open up because the moment that I said things like, this is my last,
Mm.
this is my last.
Mm.
The moment that I said, I don't know how I'm going to pay for this versus I know it's going to be paid.
Yes.
I've invested, I know I will receive versus I don't know how I'm going to get that back.
I
So,
know.
just like watching, for me, really just watching the way I spoke and how I handled money, understanding that it's energy, it has an essence, it has a
It does.
spirit.
It
It
does.
really just switched things up for me.
I'm glad that you said that because you're talking about the words and wordplay, and that's something that I'm transitioning. And this is my challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I live with or diagnosed with a diagnosis, right? It's not
Mm-hmm.
mine. I don't claim it
Mm-hmm.
is mine, right? And but then there's this society thing, this term that I really want to shake up. And I'm gonna say it in a second, but the outsiders in the and within the community say that's just too much. It's been this way. So the word I like to change, and we're gonna end it with this before I let you go. Disability is a word that really just irks me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I look and I always remember and I reverence my grandmother who was paralyzed, who was shot 5 times, who raised her
Mm.
children from her 2 bedroom apartment, who had a full blown candy store where she was able to reach out and encourage and inspire mothers and children for so many years. She used that. And so I never saw her say that she can't do, even when she was in her wheelchair. There
Mm-hmm.
was no such thing as I can't. It was I will and I can, and she did. She did
Yes.
have the store. She did have the full blown Coke trucks coming and the Frito-Lay trucks coming, and she did open and have her church her doors open for Bible study on Tuesday nights. She did do those things. So disability is the word that I want to change.
Yeah.
I want to change it, and I want to mark out the word disability and change it to adjustability. Adjustability is a
Mm.
more powerful, encouraging, inspiring word. And it's not
Yeah.
just addressing a physical aspect, it's also addressing the spiritual, the financial, all aspects in life. Adjustability has got to replace the disability. And
Yeah. I can't stand, honestly, I hate hearing that word.
do
I
you?
anytime I hear that word, I change it in my mind because I immediately I'm like, yeah, I hear that's not true. That's
Mm.
not true. Immediately.
That the words are definitely, oh, my girlfriend Tamar is on here and she's saying the same thing. It's amazing how we we we've come part of this society, and that
Mm-hmm.
we just allowed 2 presidents years ago that signed this thing into law. And my feat and what I want to do is to change that thing.
Yeah.
How I get there, I don't know. Where I'm going, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I do know that God and my grandmother and infinite powers will get me to where I need to go in that
Absolutely.
journey, because that's a journey that I want to see. Um,
Absolutely.
I thank you for all that you do within amongst the community. to help empower not just women, but the men as well, because there were men at the event as well. And I thought, wow. And that's why I was like, I didn't know my husband could come, you know what I mean?
Look, I be trying to get the men to show up now. The men be scared. So,
I think it was really good to see the young men that were there coming into that space and letting that guard down.
Yes.
Women too, because sometimes we got to come in. I'm this, I'm that, I'm the. I came in there like, have your way.
Yeah, right.
After I looked around for a minute, because I was looking, have your ways in. And so I encourage you, and I send love and continuance flowing to you and all that you're doing. And I thank you.
Thank you
for trusting me. Any words that you would want to give before?
Now that you put me on the spot.
Oh, wow. Give your
Let's see. So what's interesting, the word comes for you rather than for the audience. And then so it's for the audience as well, but I'm hearing it directly from you. And it's interesting where it's coming from. So trust in yourself, which is very general, but the words came from the womb. If that makes sense. When they came up from the womb. They said, trust in yourself. You know exactly what you're doing. The vision is all okay, because that's what we create. Duh. You know exactly what you're doing. It's already set in place. The vision is already there. And all you need to do, is so interesting, is they said step forward. And I see you standing up and literally taking a step. So that's the word. They were very intentional about the word step forward. But it's already there.
Girl, you're going to make me lose my lashes.
Well, because at first I was like, roll. They were like, no, step. So there you go.
Thank you. I appreciate you. You are amazing.
Absolutely. I appreciate your support.
Thank you always.
See you around.
Later. Okay, you all. That was a moment. I want to thank Purposely Zenny for being a part, and I want to thank my friends and those who are watching for watching it. I just thank God for the opportunity to have support like I do, and I'm grateful for that. And I want to inspire those who are watching or those who are on to move, because the message is to step. And that is what we're going to do. We're going to step into it. And one of the things I love about it is that there's room. There's no lane. There's no one bigger than the other. There's nothing but room for love and support. And in that, I'm sending your way. I'm giving and I'm receiving it. And so for that, I'm grateful. And I'll see you now. Tune in tomorrow night at 7 p.m. I have another guest that I'll be announcing that I'll be having, and it's going to be amazing. So again, we want to thank you all for tuning in, and I'll talk to you later. I love you. I do. There's nothing. I mean, nothing, not a zada zilch. There's nothing you can do about it. I'll talk to you.
Reservation today, sending joy and laughter your way. Contact us today at tripwithtiff.com.